Hey guys, GhazzyTV here with another Path of Exile build guide showcase this time. This time we made a Mjolnir Chieftain, Cyclone, Castball Channeling, Purifying Flame, Wave of Conviction. It's a pretty meme build, pretty memey build, but it turned out to be pretty cheap, and it turned out to be doing about 1,000,000 Shaper DPS, handling Uber Elder, which we're going to show you, and it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. So before I go in and show you some gameplay, I'm going to do a map, and then we're going to do Uber Elder as I talk about the build, then I'll show you all the details. But before we do that, I want to show you the approach, and that's the thing that we're using Cyclone with a Castball Channeling, together with Purifying Flame, Fire Penetration, Combustion, and then added Fire. This is what we're using in a chess piece. There's a few different sets you can use in terms of links to this, but this is what I decided to go because I have a pure armor-based chess piece. And as you can see, the chess is pretty fucking garbage because I don't have any percent life. I'm sitting on 6.2k life. I don't even have life on my other ring. I have a Mark of the Shaper, so the gear is extremely cheap. The only thing good with this ring is the minus mana cost and fist gain is extra fire. Amulet giving me some intelligence, fist is extra fire. Again, very low HP. The shield's a bit weird as well. There's a lot of things you can do with this build, which we're going to talk about. So first we're going to show you a map with Cyclone dealing pretty decent DPS. But despite that, we're actually able to do physical reflect maps, but we cannot do elemental reflect maps. Now this map's going to be very rip risky on the boss. So let's see how that goes. So basically, the design of the build is to have a lot of layers of defense, but this is all a matter of personal taste. I've decided to use things like endurance charges, which you don't have to go with if you don't want to. The most expensive item, I reckon, would be the Red Nightmare Jewel, giving me endurance charges, which is, again, not even needed for this type of build. It's fun. It's not super tanky, but it feels pretty reliable, robust, and clearing is all right with it, and it's just fun to play. It's a bit of balance when it comes to sorting accuracy as well as attack speed for the Mjolnir to proc enough, which we're going to talk about when I show you the POB and how we tackle those issues. But attack speed is something you really are going to be wanting to have on your jewels for this type of build. Other than that, Castball Channeling is not affected by any of this. It will cast every about 0.35 seconds as you're channeling your Cyclone, which is why we're using minus mana cost on one of the rings to reduce the mana cost of that, so we can just keep going, and that's about it. Let's see if we get a boss. Okay, you see here, see in the Legions, beams go to the right, that indication that the boss should be here. See if we find it. That's the boss, and that's how you can see on the monolith that there's actually a boss spawning. See if we can show you it again. No, okay, it stops showing after we've popped it. But that's how you see bosses on the monoliths. And then we're just going to go ahead and kill it. Something that's really fun with this build is actually the fact that you are able to use Righteous Fire, like the normal version of Righteous Fire, which is pretty crazy. I can start it up now. This is a pretty bad map to do it so because of the other effects. As you can see, my life is kind of just disappearing right now. And that's because of the modifier from the Ascendancy nodes, which I'll show you soon, that gives you increased life recovery rate, which will help sustain it. So once I start attacking and you get hit, you will actually be able to sustain regular Righteous Fire with this build, despite not even having Purity Fire or the Rise of the Phoenix shield, for example. But we're going to be able to have Rise of the Phoenix as a shield option if that's something you would like. So to be able to show you Righteous Fire, I can show you that now we have Righteous Fire equipped, and I'm not using any flasks, and you're actually able to sustain the extra damage provided by Righteous Fire. So again, there's a lot of options of what you can do with this build. There's a lot of tweaks you can do if you want to play with the Righteous Fire to it for the extra damage, or if you want to add Rise of the Phoenix to literally you always sustain it, and then just have even better recovery rate when you get hit by fire damage. It's really cool. I really like this this build and the different utility options that you're provided with this type of build. Now, we don't want to die to the desecrated ground, so we're going to see when as you can see, we're sustaining it for about 4 seconds after we've taken a hit, and then it will go away. So let me just stand here to let it disappear for a while before we die. There we go, and now we can move again. So yeah, the build has about 657 regen in desecrated ground. It's 1029 at my current state, plus 50% recovery, so that's 1500 life just regenerated. I'm not sure we're going to survive this boss because the increased area of effect, but we'll do it anyways. Pop All Righteous Fire. Oh, that's going to hurt. No, we're good. Okay. Yeah, they hurt. You gonna explode again? Okay. To kill the ass before we die then. Actually manageable. Bit rip risky, but manageable nonetheless. Okay, so we're gonna try Uber with this. Let's see if Lift has it ready. Yes, he does. Great. So we're gonna go do Uber. Before we do that, I'm gonna show you the gear I have on this specific character. Mjolnir, which can be corrupted for something like 45 and hit, which would make it a lot safer. In here we have Wave of Conviction, Elemental Focus, and Consecrated Effect. Wielding one Mjolnir will require you to have 6.67 attacks per second. That is not something we have. After Uber, I will show you the POB. We have a helmet with the helmet enchant Consecrated Ground for Purifying Flame. The applies 9% increased damage taken to enemies, which is insane for your damage dealt. In here we have a high level cast damage taken setup with Immortal Call, Summon Lightning Golem, and a Molten Shell. Helps a little bit with the defense. The shield I just went with a little bit of life and resistances. Again, you can use Rise of the Phoenix to sustain your Righteous Fire if you want to, which is actually a really cool thing to do, but it's a matter of personal taste what you want to do here. Fast attacks with Blood Rage and Shield Charge in here. We talked about the amulets and the rings before, and the chest piece. The boots, straight up movement speed with life. I did add some extra dexterity because you need to get some dexterity up for some of your gems. In this case, it was Cyclone, Blood Rage, and Precision. So you can see my Blood Rage is only level 12 because I cannot sustain higher with this. But you can fix that by having all attributes on your amulet, which I didn't have. Like I said, just kept the budget down very low. I don't even have damage enchant on the belt. It's just life and resistances, not even good for that matter. The gloves, you can use Dodri's Tenure, or you can use the upgraded versions called Dodri's Malevolence. I decided to go for Tenure because they're very cheap, and then eventually corrupt Elemental Weakness on them. Though, mind you, it could be somewhat annoying because you can go through quite a few pairs before you actually hit it. And most of them just results in other curses than the one you want. But that aside, it's you can do very well without it. The first Uber kill we did with this build was actually dealing without the Curse Elemental Weakness gloves, actually. So that's a pretty straightforward idea. I'm using Heat, Quicksilver, Warding, Granite, a Serious Promise for more damage, Wise Oak, which requires our fire resistance to be as high as possible, and then life on top of that. So I'm going to do the Uber now, and then I'll show you the tree, and then I'll show you the POB, and you can decide for yourself if this is a build you want to do. Budget for these pieces, I bought the 6-link Glorious Blade for 26 Chaos, I bought the shield for about 5C, I bought the helmet for 20C, Amulet for about 30 Chaos, I think, this ring for 16 Chaos, this ring for 15C, gloves for an Alk, belt 2 Chaos, boots 4 Chaos, and Mjolnir 10 Chaos. It's super cheap. But I'll show you the tree in a bit. So let's do Umbrella first. But yeah, I think that after playing it, I'm not a big fan of the endurance charge that much since we're currently testing it build out in softcore. But other than that, it's been pretty fun. Been very fun to play. Something in Uber that we've noticed is you can't tank the balls. I tried tanking them, and I've tried tanking slams as well. Does not work, so don't do that. You will die. Okay, just don't. Other than that, it's dodge the ice balls is definitely recommended. Where's the ad? I saw an ad here. The ice spears from Elder himself should be dodged. You can take a couple of them, but you can also easily be comboed. So I was starting to recommend dodging them. Other than that, it's, yeah, as you can see there, it took quite a lot of damage from that. Let's go dodge that, kill the ad. Where is he? Okay. I can't go in there. There we go. Oh, that's already. Okay. So as you can see here, what I'd like to do is actually make sure that I stay away from the ice spears, because that can happen. So I try to dodge them as much as I can. But other than that, it's very straightforward. See, if I get hit by the spears, it can hurt a lot. So I try to stay away from taking too much of that, if I can. It's not a big deal, but it does make a difference. Let's see if we can get this done smoothly. Hopefully we can. Okay, that's that face. Where's the balls? There's the balls. And then we'll do this. And we're in the ads face. Very, very straightforward to do this, to be honest. At the moment to enter, yes, of course. This is lift a lot set at the moment that we're running. We spawned our own, we're going to run that tomorrow. And that's about it. It's just really straightforward. Let's not stank that one. It's really straightforward. The entire build is super straightforward. And then we're just going to finish it. You can come in now, Lift. Just wait for him to come in before we kill it. Okay, he's inside. Oh, that's a nice position. Might die. No, we're good. We're good. Righteous Fire. Let's probably get in watch your side here. That's how easy we kill it. Thank you so much, Lift, for letting me do this for the video. So, right, let's just see if we get a jewel first before we show you the build. Come on. Come on. What is this bullshit? Wow. Wow. I am so sorry, Lift. So sorry, dude. Right. So, back to this build then. We're in a situation where I am using a rather expensive jewel called the Red Nightmare. This one gives me a little bit of fire damage, gains extra chaos, and this also gives me some block values, which is, in my opinion, kind of whatever, but it also gives me an equal chance to get endurance charge on kill based on how much fire and all resistance you get in the radius. Now, the build is going through diamond skin nodes, which is a lot of resistances, on top of barbarism, helping with a lot of resistances to make gearing a lot cheaper. But you don't really need this, and I'm taking a lot of endurance charges because of this. Now, you can if you want to. I kind of felt that it wasn't really worth the currency, but since I already got it, I decided to keep playing with it. But yeah, that's something you can decide to not do if you want to. Another jewel we're using is the Watcher's Eye. I got one with a low percent of physical as extra fire, bought it for like 30 chaos, and then I used a couple of divine orbs to get it up to 25%. Not really necessary. This makes up for about 150,000 Shaper DPS, so you can still do rather well without that and without the gloves I have. Having a good roll. I'm sorry, Lift. So, back to the tree then. I'm going to use PUB for this. We are using Unwavering Stance because this allows us to never evade attacks, but we cannot be stunned, which allows us to utilize all the Ascendancy nodes very, very well. In this case, we are... Where is it? It's this one, right? Yes. So this one gives us a lot of fire rest, regen, and then physical damage taken from hits will be taken as fire damage. And when you take in fire damage, you will have 50% life recovery. So as soon as something just tries to hit you, it will hit you, and you will get 50% recovery rate. On the PUB, you can see that the net life regen is a bit over 1,000 life per second. When this one's procced, it doesn't show up because it's recovery rate. You actually regen over 1,500 life per second on top of your leeching. And then we have the Ramgo Sun's Light, which is just for the 15 fire penetration. Hinicora's Fury for the fire damage leech, as well as covering enemies in ash and giving us some extra strength. Flames Advance for conversion and extra damage. And this is where the fun starts. The tree is very generic. I went with life nodes and I pick up versatility, and I went for Soul Steel and Blood pretty early. I went with Luster Carnage later, and this was mainly for the attack speed, which I'll go through in a minute. In through life, I did skip the endurance charge and the Red Nightmare, skip the jewel slots. I haven't even taken them on the tree on my build right now. More life and these damage nodes, which also gives us some extra resistances. And I picked up Spiritual Aid, which allows for jewels to roll with minion damage. And that's basically it. It's very straightforward. Now, we talked about accuracy being an issue. Now, if you look at Cyclone, we're going to Cyclone, you can see we have a 100% hit chance. This is something we reach without having accuracy on the gear. I don't have that on my character. Evasive monster, 96%, but otherwise it's a 100% hit chance without accuracy on your gear. And this is thanks to using Tempered Mind up here. Now, the problem with Tempered Mind is that it does hit your intelligence a bit because you lose out in an unallocated intelligence. But unallocated intelligence nodes in the radius will give you 100 accuracy. This one gives me 1,400 accuracy. Let's see if we can show you in here. 1,400 accuracy rating, which is enough to cover with a level 1 precision gem. So that's how we sort the accuracy issues. So the two other problems that this build is going to have for you is dexterity requirements, intelligence requirements, and then have attack speed. So we picked up 30 dex. You're going to have to get an amulet with a lot of intelligence, preferably. In this case, we're sitting on just enough with intelligence. My dexterity is pretty low, which is why the support gems such as faster attacks and blood rage has to be a little bit lower level. But if you manage to get more dexterity, that's always good. So the last issue is attack speed. As you can see here, the configuration, I don't have frenzy charges enabled. With frenzy charges, I am perfectly fine. You want to have 6.67 attack speed without onslaught, preferably. But since I don't have a frenzy charge reliably on bosses, I wanted to calculate it without it. So I'm 6.35, which is a little bit lower than what I need. So what I did was I picked up Lust for Carnage later, and I picked up, let's see, what else was it? Jewels, right? It was Jewels with attack speed. In this case, I picked up something with life, and I did need a little bit of rest to balance the gear I got. Attack speed while holding a shield and increased attack and cast speed. Same thing with this jewel, increased attack speed and attack speed while holding a shield. That's basically the kind of nodes that I was looking for to balance out the attack speed to make the proc rate as effective as possible. The leveling sequence was pretty straightforward as well. You could level with pretty much anything. As soon as I got the Tabula equipped for leveling, I actually did level with Castbot Channeling. It was really smooth. It was fun to level with as well. So you can just do that if you want to. And that's basically it. I don't think I have anything else to say about the build. Pantheons, right? Bandits, I killed all of them. Pantheons, since you're stun immune, I went with the upgraded projectiles that that are chained, since we're using Herald of Purity, allowing that from Soul of Lunaris. Then I went with Soul of Ralakesh, damage over time whilst moving. You can go with Soul of Shakari, which is what I prefer to play with, where the chaos resistance is being so bad. And that's basically all of the build, except the skill gems, which we're going to end this little showcase with. Skill gems, straightforward, like we mentioned before with the Vault Cyclone. We have Mjolnir that we mentioned. The other utilities we have talked about. And then I had a low-level Precision. I have a Vault Righteous Fire. You could use the Righteous Fire if you want to. Normal Flame Dash for edges, increased duration for the Vault Righteous Fire. And then we have the cast damage taken setup we mentioned. The other auras is Enlighten, Herald of Ash, Anger, Herald of Purity. Now, you can lower the Enlighten with this build. I don't think you even... not sure. We do need a level 2 Enlighten, I believe. Yes, we need a level 2 Enlighten for this build to work, because you have the minus reduction of cost on your ring. Now, keep in mind that with a lower level Enlighten as a level 2, which doesn't cost anything at all. If you get a corrupted level 2 Enlighten, that'll be more than enough. I have 57 mana open. You might want to look into a lower level Blood Rage if you have a level 2 Enlighten, but it shouldn't be a problem. And if it's a problem, you're going to fix that by yourself by having a little bit of a higher level, as your mana pool will increase. And that's basically it. It's a meme build, and it handles Super Elder, and it can do Fist Reflect maps, and yeah, there's so many matter of personal taste options around it, such as utilizing Righteous Fire, Rise of the Phoenix, a normal shield. If you want to get a better clear speed damage, you can go for Ash Mirror. There's so many options around it. It's really cool. So guys, let me know in the comments below what you think of this build, or if you played this similar build in another way. And make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. And until next time, boys, stay safe and keep rocking.